Welcome back to My Cat Calling, the new podcast for cat people by cat people. I'm your host, Krista Moy, and this is your co-host, Prince Gary. We have a really great show for you today. We have Prince Gary's personal hero, Dr. Ryan Ehlinger of the Feliz Animal Hospital, who did amazing work on his disgusting butt wound. This was such a great conversation that we had to divide it up into 2 episodes because there was just way too many gems in there that we couldn't really cut a whole lot. So keep a lookout coming up soon for part 2 of this episode. Now it's time for the mood check. Prince Gary is in a pretty TO'd mood today. Yeah, he's a little annoyed that his baby sister was all up in his face today, screaming and trying to eat his fur and just being a total baby on him. So he's a little fuck you. He doesn't really want to be on the show today. But SNAP benefits are frozen. We've all got to contribute in some way in this house, am I right? Next up is the cat thread segment. Today in the cat thread, I found a really good video from Purely History, and says that time the news did a story on a cat who acted like a dog from 1995. But honestly, it just seems like a news story about a really cool cat named Tigrin, and the owner's name is Clarence. So take a look.
Clarence Armstrong has a unique cat.
Yeah, he's pretty unusual. Let's go. Hey, come on.
His name's Tigri, and he's more like a dog than a cat.
I think he's more intelligent than a dog. He likes this.
Every day when the weather's nice, Clarence and Tigri go for a walk, and they usually end up at a fast food restaurant in Renton.
Would you like that with cheese today?
Clarence goes inside and gets a cup of coffee, and Tigri waits for him outside.
He'll just sit right there.
It's darling.
In the summertime, sometimes when it's too hot, I don't bring him over.
Tigri will wait for Clarence for hours. Customers are amazed.
When I first walked up the ramp, I thought it was a statue.
He's the best.
We've known him for about, 3 years?
Oh, he's a little sweetheart.
Clarence says he takes Tigri everywhere, to the grocery store, bowling alley, and library. Clarence and Tigri are best friends.
Tigri, you ready to go? Hey, you ready to go home? And this is his Christmas sweater.
Elton John would be impressed with Tigri's sunglass collection. And when it comes to hats, Tigri has a different hat for every occasion.
Here's his Christmas scarf that goes with it. When he wants to swing in it, he'll push it and get it started.
And just when you think you've seen it all, Clarence pulls out Tigri's favorite snack food.
Now this is my cat's Grey Poupon.
Now you've seen everything. Scott Rensberger, Cairo News Channel 7.
Tigrin is so cool. Sunglasses, check. Attitude, check. Amazing taste in food, Grey Poupon, check. Being able to push yourself in a baby swing, check. All of these things are pretty freaking cool. So good job, Clarence, for having a best friend like Tigrin. Now it's time for the show and tell segment. Today in the show and tell segment, I have some toys. I have a toy from Chip Toy Store. It's a little frog that is very significant to the store. $2 of every frog goes to support PIRC, which is empowering immigrants in the Portland community. So it's pretty much a way to stick it to ice in the best way possible. A cute cat toy. These are handmade felt toys. They're really high quality. Catnip inside, really high quality handcrafted materials. And Prince has had a really good time playing with this. So there's a lot of other toys on there, but these specifically I love to support anything that is a big fuck you to ice. So head on over to Chip Toy Stores. They are on Etsy. These are, I think, going for $13. All right, we're going to take a short break and we'll be back. Welcome back, Podians. We have an amazing guest today. He's a veterinarian at the Feliz Animal Hospital and my personal hero for fixing Prince Gary's gross butt wound. Please welcome to the podcast, Dr. Ryan Ehlinger.
Wow, this is a major intro here. I mean, I am definitely a fan of Prince Gary. I knew I was in the vicinity of royalty the minute he came in. He's such a sweet boy.
He's literally, he doesn't, so the funny story about his name is, if you like watch one of the episodes I just released, I talk about his name used to be Boo Boo when I adopted him, and it almost made me not want to adopt him because I was like so turned off by what a like cringy name Boo Boo was.
Oh yeah.
But then I met him and I was like, oh, like he's so sweet. Like I guess I kind of get why they need. I don't know. I don't know.
mean,
I take it
I
back.
only
I don't
use
know.
my cat shelter names if they're being like really bad. Like it's like, none of them are good,
Yeah.
right? Like it's kind of like, if you've been really naughty, we'll use the shelter name. Otherwise, we just like tuck that one away.
Shelter
Like,
name.
it never happens,
I love that. Yeah, so but now he like only answers to Prince. That's like he knows like that's my name. So
Nice.
he
Nice.
does he sometimes answers to Gary, but like Prince that's like when he knows it's him.
I just call him Sir Highness, but it's good to know
Right.
the official terms.
Yeah. So how did you like get into being a veterinarian? Like are you just like a cat person mostly, or is it all animals?
Yeah, like my journey to vet medicine was definitely winding. Like you'll see most veterinarians are kind of like I don't want to say most, but there's a lot who are like just like type A, like I got straight A's. I knew I wanted to be a vet from the time I was 11 and became a vet, right? And my journey was a little more like had to go through some self-discovery to figure out that's what I wanted to do. So like I worked for a long time in business and in marketing, and I just wasn't happy. Like I was very successful at it, but I felt like something was missing. And so I went back. I wanted to find a job where I could like help in the community and like help people. And so like I considered veterinary medicine and human medicine and social work, and I was looking at like kind of all three. And then I ended up settling on vet medicine because I just always loved animals and like felt a connection with them, and like just I don't know. I spent a lot of time volunteering and getting to know the field. Like I worked as a vet tech and in human medicine as a medical assistant to like see what the professions were like. And I just loved vet medicine. It was just great. It just called to me, so I stuck with it.
Mm-hmm. Would you say like volunteering is kind of like the gateway into veterinarian, the medical?
I mean, I think it's a good idea regardless of what you're doing. I mean, it's such a time commitment and a commitment of money and resources and like your life hours that like seeing what it looks like in action is good, right? To know like, oh, I feel good about this. I feel good about what I could do within this field. It's like that's what's going to motivate you when you have to do all the, biochem and labs and other things you have to do. So I just wanted to know that like I wasn't wasting my time. I didn't want to go through all that and then be unhappy. So that's why I spent a lot of time like just doing whatever I had to do. First volunteering and then getting a job, and then really kind of like seeing what was available in veterinary medicine for me, which is amazing. Like vet medicine's amazing. There's amazing veterinarians out there, and it's a you get to be the psychiatrist, the cardiologist, the dermatologist, the surgeon, the internist, the neurologist, all in one. And so there's a tremendous amount of responsibility with that, but there's also like endless education that you can do, and you're only limited by your own feelings of like I shouldn't do more than this, or I've reached my capacity in this area or something. Like you can really go as far as you want.
Yeah, so how many years have you been in the field?
So I graduated from Tufts, which is outside of Boston, in 2009.
Okay.
And then I worked in Connecticut for about 4 years at this like really super busy 10-doctor hospital. And then I bought my own hospital in California in 2013. And I sold that one in 2021.
What does that mean, you bought your own hospital?
Yeah, so I bought my own place. Like, so in vet medicine, you could run your own hospital, which is kind of fun.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So you could buy a hospital. You have to buy all the equipment and stock it and staff it and run it like a small business.
Like a private practice?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I did that, and my practice grew from like 1 to 4 doctors, and we went from like 6 to 20 employees and stuff. But I just got like burned out on managing people and processes. Like I just really liked the patients, but I was like, oh my God, OSHA or radiologic health or unemployment EED, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, I just want to go play with somebody's cat. And get some attention. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you say? Have you like always been a cat? Would you say you're a cat person, or are you like an animal person?
Yeah, I love all animals in different ways. I just view them all as individuals, And I
Okay.
think, cats are just really fun because they're so independent. Like it's not like, dogs are just gonna like do what they're told or like be in the
Yeah.
dog world. And cats, it's like I almost look at like cats as they're just like so their own independent person, right? And it's
Yeah.
fun to get to know them. But for me, like I had cats when I was younger, but my parents were like really bad. They're like, all cats live outside. Cats can't be inside. And we lived on like
Oh, they
a
were
farm
the
and stuff. And so my cat was like a serial killer. Like she'd kill like every mouse, rat, bunny, rabbit, and she'd line them all up like dead things on
yeah.
the porch. And but I loved her. I would always go out and pet her and hang out with her. And my dad was allergic, so no cats were allowed inside.
Yeah,
And
that was
then
kind of the deal growing up for me too. My dad
was
was
it?
allergic. Yeah, we had a cat that had kittens, and she had three kittens. We gave two of them away, and then we kept one kitten, and both of those cats ended up being surrendered to a humane society because my dad was just too allergic. So
Yeah, my parents are really not cat people, like, but we
yeah,
use that to our advantage. Like when we don't want them to come visit, we just keep adopting cats, so it works out really good.
yeah, that's a great
Yeah,
deterrent.
yeah. It was like, well, we have five
Like
cats. You might want to
in-law
stay in the
repellent.
hotel nearby, rather than with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like we had a baby, and my mom's like, you should probably get rid of the cats because they're gonna like smother the baby, or they're gonna like,
Oh yeah, that
yeah,
old wives' tale that like they steal the
yes,
baby's breath.
yeah, something like she was gonna
Like
drown the
mother.
baby or like just all this stuff, and we were just laughing. My wife and I are like, yeah, like we're gonna get rid of like our cat, like never, like Mama's like our child, like we're not, never.
Yeah.
But it's funny, it's like generational because I think for them, they grew up on farms, they grew up poor, and they have you
Yeah.
only know what you know. So it's like,
Yeah, a farm
that's just
cat is
the
definitely a different energy than an indoor cat. I feel
yeah,
like I've
for
been
sure.
around a lot of farm cats and like they're wild.
Yeah,
They're not like the plushy like lazy cats that lay inside and just
yeah,
like
yeah.
wait for food.
Yeah, no, I
Like
mean
Prince
it's totally
Gary.
different energy. Yeah, like right now we have in our house we have four indoor cats, and we have one who's like an outdoor cat who adopted the family, and he still wants to be outside. So we're struggling with that because we keep trying to bring him in, but he wants to be out, and so it's sort of like
Yeah,
this big
that's
adjustment
hard.
because we're used to indoor.
Is just one of your cats outdoor?
Yeah, well, Ollie is he just showed up. Like he was drinking out of the pool every day
Oh,
and like
okay.
living in a bush behind our yard. And we slowly like brought him in, and now he'll like sleep inside, but after a while he'll just start meowing like crazy to go out. So we'll like, let
Yeah.
him back out. But then he comes back around again, and we're like, maybe we can like make him an indoor cat. But it's hard, like he's used to that lifestyle.
Yeah, it's definitely like I've watched videos on like what cats do when they're outside and they've got like a routine. They go like they call it like a watch or something. I forget what the term
Yeah,
is, but they
yeah,
like
like they do
do
their loop.
their loop. Yeah, there's like a loop they do outside. So when they can't do that, they're just like, how do I like
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
it's gonna be all like they gotta like
And
check the
that loop
block
is
out.
way wider than what people think.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm talking to my wife, I'm like, oh yeah, he goes like way out behind the hospital around, and she's like, no, that's like really far away. I'm like, oh yeah, he does, because
Yeah.
like that, because to him that's all part of his loop, and he's going to do that every day. But
Yeah.
but yeah, they're just fun. So a long time ago, like I was kind of a hippie. I lived in a Volkswagen van again, and I was just like driving around and camping and like doing yoga every day and living like a pretty free lifestyle. And my brother had this cat. His name was Spaz. And he's like, Spaz hates everyone. Like Spaz will kill you, like he will scratch you, and like watch out for Spaz.
Villain
And like
spaz.
I would go stay at his house, and I would just like sleep in his guest room, and like Spaz would come up and just be like, "I love you." Like he'd roll around, let me pet him and talk to him and stuff. And like my brother and his wife were like, "What the hell? Like this cat won't even let me touch him, and like he'll
Yeah.
scratch me." And he goes up to you and rolls around on your bed and acts all happy.
Yeah, he like
And
does
that's
the
when I first
tummy.
kind of realized like cats really engage with you based on where you're at and your own like emotional level and like where you're at. And when you're peaceful and calm, like they're peaceful and calm. And when you're anxious or like, it shows, like they feel that,
Yeah,
and
we're kind of
that,
like people that way. Like, I don't want to be around somebody that's always like on edge and
yeah,
isn't chill. Like, you want to talk to somebody that's like, yeah, I just did yoga.
yeah.
I live in a
Yeah, so I
van.
kind of felt bad for him because I felt like he was kind of like trapped with the wrong family or something, like,
Yeah,
and my brother, like, he's a great guy and they have great family and stuff, but it's just not a very cat friendly home, like little
yeah.
kids and lots of loud noises and stuff. And it was like, you could see that that's what was going on with him. I've always had like a little bit of a connection like that with animals where it's just like, I connect with them and I see them for who they are and like can meet them right at that spot. And like that's
Yeah.
always served me well in medicine too, because like I feel like I have like medical knowledge and can help them, but I feel like it starts with at a place of getting to know them and knowing who they are and like feeling them, and then from there like branching out. You'll see some veterinarians where they're like they don't get to know the patient at all. It's just like just plop them on the table and start like doing whatever, And it's like there's nothing wrong with that, but I think there's a deeper level of like connection and compassion when you do it the other way, and you start with connection and then you build from there.
Yeah, I think that's something I really noticed about your approach to just be like I've gone through so many different vets with Prince Gary because he's 18 and I've had him since he was
That's so
9.
crazy, by the way. He looks like he's like 12 or 13. He looks really
Thank
good.
you. That's a huge compliment because that's what I think. Like I like is he actually younger than what they said he was when I rescued him? But I don't know. He could just be in a really good shape. I don't know. But yeah, you were just like, I feel bad for him. You're like, poor guy. And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard a vet say, like, poor guy, like, actually genuinely have empathy for my cat.
Yeah.
And, like, want him to feel better. Like, everything was just kind of like, like, very clinical and, like, here's a prescription and there you go. Like,
Yeah.
1 week, this medicine,
Yeah.
you should be fine, kind
Yeah,
of
yeah.
thing. And I noticed like your bedside manner is very compassionate and empathetic toward the animal. And I was like, this guy gets it. That's why I was
Nice.
like, I assumed you were a cat person, but maybe
Yeah, yeah.
you give this approach to all
I do.
animals.
I do it with
living
dogs
beings.
too. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's an interesting profession. I think maybe for some people it's more of like guarding against like fear and insecurity because there's cases that don't go well, or there's, you know, owners that can be upset, or there's like a lot of hard
Mm,
things about being a veterinarian. And so I think maybe rather than like open up to all the risk of all those bad things, like it's easier to just kind of like be a little more standoffish from the jump, maybe. But I don't know. I just feel like it's more fun to get to know people and get to know their pets and have an authentic relationship and like use that to provide really good care. Like that's what feels good. That's what feels right.
yeah, there should be more vets with that
Yeah.
approach. I think it's a really, I guess, is it holistic? I don't know.
I don't know. I think there's other people out there that do it, but there's definitely a lot more that are just more like, like what you're saying, just straight to the medicine. Here's your script. See you later.
Would you say it's hard for some people to deal with sort of getting emotionally attached to the job and the
Yeah.
pet, so
I mean,
they
there's a
kind
lot
of
of pressure. There's a lot of
detach?
death and sadness. And so I think, that's hard. And there's also really challenging cases that'll push you all the way to like questioning, like, man, am I good enough to do this? Like, this is super hard.
Yeah.
It's a really tough job. Being a veterinarian is a really tough job. It's a very rewarding job, but it
Yeah.
is one of the hardest. And we have a high suicide rate. There's a lot of
Yeah, I know that. That's why.
depression. Like, there's a lot of like dirty laundry in the vet world about stuff like that. And it's because most of the people are very compassionate, very kind. They want to be helpful,
Yeah.
and then like they're forced to do things that are maybe beyond their comfort zone. And then human medicine is very set up to protect you from that. With
Hmm.
the way the hospitals are set up, there's always someone else there to guide you or help you. And in vet medicine, sometimes you're just on your own, and you just have to make the choices and live in a world where you live and die by those choices.
Yeah. And I feel like in vet medicine, there's a lot. I don't know about a lot more death, but I would think that there's a significant amount more just because pets live a shorter lifespan
Yeah,
than humans do. So I would think that just by that alone, there's a lot more instances of having to put a pet down and sickness at old age kind of thing.
for sure. I've had 2 separate shifts where I've done 8 euthanasias in one shift. And so,
Wow.
so one place where we did 15-minute appointments. So that I don't want to say it was more reasonable, but it was like I was seeing sick animals that day, and I just happened to see a whole bunch of really sick animals. And then I did it again at a place where I saw a 30-minute appointment. So that's uncommon, but that you can run into those days where there's just a lot of euthanasia.
Do you do anything to combat sort of the heaviness and the emotional toll of being a vet in vet medicine?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a couple things. Number one is just always talk about it. Like if I have a bad case, I'll always talk to the veterinarian who's like in my office with me, like I have a bad case, I'm really upset about this case or whatever. So just like speaking about it is good, right? We don't want to just take it, internalize it and try and tuck it away because it'll come out in bad ways later. And then there's also a lot of cases where you save them, and I remember like when I worked at this like ER and the guy's like, go save, I was complaining about losing a pet and euthanizing, and he was like, go save something, and then you go out, you save something, and you're the hero, and then you feel better. There is yin and yang. I mean, you get the ones where you're like, man, I saved their life, I feel so great,
Yeah.
So you have to really enjoy those moments too for what they are. I always just do whatever I can live with. Like if it's euthanasia, I have to ask myself if I think it's fair, compassionate, the right thing, and then just be empathetic and compassionate. The main thing is just to be there for the human, be there for the pet, be there for them, and I think that's the best we can do is be compassionate, because there's going to be really bad things that you're going to see sometimes, and it's really hard, and you can't save some things.
It's definitely limitations.
Yeah, and you don't want to see some kitty suffering, living a really unhappy life because, of a disease that has a bad prognosis, So part of our job is to convey that to people and let them know what to expect and let them know how to assess their pet's quality of life. So it's a big part of vet medicine, unfortunately, but it's also a really important part because we deal with a lot of end-of-life stuff.
Yeah, and I think like a lot of the end-of-life stuff can get tricky because if you're the kind of vet that just wants to make money, you're gonna highly suggest that, you should do all this stuff and sort of like, I don't want to say guilt people into, drugging your cat and doing all of these things to prolong the life, but I think there's like a point where a lot of people get to where they're like, do I really want to put my cat through this? Do I really want to put myself through this, like injections 3 times a day or whatever it may be, and then the cost of all of that. And I think that is really hard to know, like, what choice do I make? Do I invest all of this in my cat that I love so much only to know the outcome will only be like a couple more months? Or do I just say, just put them down now? And, I think it takes a really compassionate vet to help guide somebody through those horrible decisions that they have.
You need somebody you can trust when it comes down to that. Because usually if you have a good relationship, they'll say like, look, here's where we stand and here's what your options are and here's what you can expect with each option, Because I'm a big believer there's no like one size fits all approach, right? Yeah. It's more about like, getting to know each patient and then sort of laying out like, oh, here's different options on what we can do. And here's, like people ask me, what would you do? And I'll usually tell them like, this is what I would do. But yeah, it's really case dependent,
Well, that wraps up our show for today. Thank you so much to Dr. Ryan for being on the show. Reminder that we're going to release a part 2 to this episode, so keep an eye out for that. If you liked anything about this show today, even if it was just Prince Gary squirming, not wanting to be on camera, go ahead and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment. I don't know how you're listening to this, but just, interact with us in some way. Let us know you're there. So we're not screaming into a void. Yeah, thanks for watching the show, and see you next time. We love Mew.